Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Through the Magical Doors. And I'm here to have another transparent conversation with a woman I've known over the last few years that I'm very excited to have a chat with today. So, welcome, Olivia. It's really wonderful to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So this is Olivia Brooke, everyone. She is a psychic and energy alchemist. She helps women step into a deeper understanding of who they are and meant to be through connecting them to the vast knowledge of their soul and helping them live into a deeper flow with a unique gift. So it's really fab to have you, Olivia. And just to let you know a little bit about how I know Olivia, a few years back, I think it was 2017, we both joined our coaches, Carrie Cardozo's Psychic Business Academy. And we've been on a very interesting journey since. So we studied with Carrie Cardozo a while back. And just so super excited to actually have you here, Olivia. I'm really curious about the journey you've been into before we met at Carrie's, as well as since, because obviously that's been a bit of a milestone in both of our lives, right? So yeah, tell me a little bit about what led you into your journey of, I guess, doing the work that you're doing now. And yeah, kind of a little bit about you and your journey that reached that point of you kind of helping women in this way.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey. So, how I ended up in Psychic Business Academy, so how we kind of met and how I ended up on this, it feels like two kind of
Yeah,
phases of my journey. I was at the time I was still coaching women, but it was in a different
yeah,
capacity. It was with health and wellness and fitness and nutrition. But I was also going through a transformation in my personal life. So I had a lot of things going on in my personal life, and then I was doing this business that began to feel really unfulfilling because what
mm,
I was realizing in the business that I was in was, yes, I was helping women and I was helping them to change their lives, but we weren't doing like deep rooted change. And the way that I was able to speak to them wasn't the way that I wanted to speak to them
yeah,
because I didn't know at the time that I was a psychic or could work with energy at all. I just knew that I understood things on a deeper level than a lot of what I was able to do in that capacity.
yeah,
And it felt really surface to me. It felt like I wasn't really helping these women. It was like
yeah,
helping them with their outer appearance, but what we really needed to do was dig in
yeah,
to help them understand, why did they feel so crappy about themselves? Why were they continuing these patterns of overeating and then over exercising and doing all these things that weren't nourishing to who they were, who their
yeah,
soul is,
yeah.
right? And so my business did really well. Like, it was super successful in that financially, but then it wasn't feeling successful to me as a
In a
person.
deeper way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it ended up that I could never reach the next level of success within that business. I could never make more money. I was at a stuck point. And that's kind of how I stepped into the psychic world. Was I was struggling in that business to make it as profitable as I wanted to. It was just it was fine. It was serving its purpose. I was paying my bills. I didn't need anything.
Yeah.
Um, but I couldn't get through to that next income level that I really was desiring. And so that kind of led me into the psychic spiritual world, where
Yeah.
I reached out in a business group saying, help, like, I cannot get past this. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And then there were some things going on in my personal life. My marriage wasn't doing really well, and I had two little kids at home, and I was transitioning out of, I also owned a daycare. So I was transitioning out of
Wow.
and this woman reached out and introduced me to tapping, and in that group, and then with also in
Yeah.
that group, and I was kind of led into finding other psychics, and that's how
Yeah.
I eventually met Carrie. But it became or eventually stepped into like meeting Carrie and then opening up my psychic gifts was really just feeling really unfulfilled in what I was
Yeah.
doing, looking for something that would help me get out of it. And everything that I had tried up to that point wasn't working for me. So I
Mm.
needed something more. And the kind of introduction into the energy world through tapping, which I don't really use right now, but
Yeah.
but it was great to understand, oh yeah, I understood that energy was held in your body. This was something I
Yes.
understood from health coaching, health wise, right? And I used to tell people this, your energy, your body is telling you stuff. But in that world, they didn't understand what I was talking about, you know?
But it was, I love how with what you're sharing, actually, with your story, it reminds me how much with my story and so many people as well, there's always a way in through a person, through a situation, a life event. And in a way, they're kind of a bit of a doorkeeper to this new reality we're stepping into, or this new life where they get to be the people who introduce us to important people in our lives. I've had that in so many aspects of my life when I went into my Buddhism journey in my 20s and other things after that. So, and I really love how, in a way, yeah, you've had that introduction. And actually, EFT is probably another thing we share in common, because I used to, when I started my business, I did a bit of EFT, not through a program, just online. I was watching someone's YouTube videos. I found it super, super powerful in terms of making those shifts quite quickly. But I love how you touched in a way on this thing that there's been a number of things, personal transformation and change you were undertaking, that desire for that deepening, for that deeper growth within yourself and also within your business. And it kind of feels like in a way was sort of like looking at holistically, was addressing different things, you know, that up leveling on that next thing that you went into, kind of like really yeah, you could address sort of all these different things on the same time. And can I ask you, so before that time, as you run your health and well-being business, were you at the time into kind of the sort of spiritual, the community, or would you say you were sort of very open to these things before, or not as much at the time?
I was really open to it. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I remember, I mean, I had seen a psychic before and I was like, this is so
Mm.
cool. And I've always been drawn to that. I remember a roommate had a book at one time that said, like tapping into the psychic within or something. I was like, that would be so cool if I was psychic.
Mm.
And I always had like
Yeah.
this like desire, like, oh my gosh, if I could do that, that would just be like the ultimate. It would be so cool. And like I was fascinated by that world. I was fascinated by the energy world. I was fascinated by people that could, or
Mm.
that said, you know, that they could talk to spirits or were mediums or those kinds of things. So I was always fascinated by that. So it wasn't shocking to me when she introduced me, but it was a great way to be introduced into the deeper world because
Yeah.
it wasn't like so woo woo out there that it was
Yeah.
like I could I could understand it. And it
Yeah.
wasn't that I would have been open to something a little more woo woo, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right word to use,
Yeah. 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 Sure.
um, but tapping and getting into that is such a great way to be like a gateway into energy work. I feel like it's
Yeah.
like, or anyone could say,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I'm going to tap on these points in my
Yeah.
body and see what happens, right? It's not
Yeah.
too far out there to where people are just like put off from it. So it was a really like beautiful transition. um yeah.
Absolutely. And I think in a way, it's a beautiful way because energy was the way in for many things for me as well, back in like mid 2000, when well, I guess in early 2000, I got into meditation like heavily through Buddhism. But in 2006, when I did my first Reiki diploma, and I think because I guess essentially the whole realm of psychic sort of phenomena and reading, psychic readings are to do with tuning into energy, through tuning into energy. And I guess being introduced to energy work is a really great way into it, because we start connecting with that sort of level of experience, the energetic realm of our being and of our experience. So I can totally imagine. And also with EFT, I don't know, like I loved how immediate the shifts were.
Mhm.
Like, you know, and it might have been that they were not groundbreaking, but they were pretty immediate. I could really feel a shift straight away. So for me, there was a sense like, gosh, you know, I can really do something to shift my energy. I
Mhm.
found that really wonderful. So that's really great. I'd love to know, now that I guess you've been on this journey, you're really immerse yourself in that. Obviously, both the work with Carrie, but as well as after that, the journeys we've been, I guess. you know, we've had an opportunity to hone into these gifts. I know we've shared space together where we've channeled for other people as well. So I'm curious to know, like, the very kind of personal bits about the being a psychic reader and tuning into psychic energy that really appeals to you personally, because there's so many different aspects to that, you know, and it's such an incredible tool. Tell me some of like other your own experience, or even like how you're finding is even helping your own life, or what's the kind of areas that you feel you've benefited the most from being able to tune into energy.
Yeah, you know, it feels like, gosh, it feels like so, it really just opens up a world of potential and possibility. And
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
when you're not connected to this, the world feels so finite. It feels so black and white. It feels so powerless, or can feel so powerless, you know?
Yeah.
But when you're able to tap into energy in any capacity, meaning even if you're just now getting into it and you're just thinking like, oh gosh, I'm hearing tapping, I'm hearing EFT, what in the world is this? It helps you to understand that there's a lot of tools out there in
Hmm.
the realm of energy and in the realm of spirituality and all of that, that you can take control back of your life, where you don't
Yeah.
feel like you're just this human on a planet wondering what the world you're doing here and why,
Yeah.
like what's the purpose. It helps you to see like, wow, there's so much out there, it's so expansive, my potential is so big and so vast. And what's most exciting about that is I have control over it. Like there are a few things
Hmm.
in your life that are fated or whatever, but most things we have a really big handle on how it's going to unfold, or at least how we're going to react to things that are unfolding. Or it just is like for me, it made me understand that I get to be responsible for my life and I
Yeah.
get to design it, and that's so empowering. Like if I were to design my life any way that I want to do it, how do I do it? Cool,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that. You're telling me I can do that. All I now have to do is keep going within and keep understanding that I hold some power, keep shifting the way I respond to things or whatever it is. So for me personally, it just gave me a sense of ownership over my life, and a sense of, it did give me a deeper sense of purpose, because I always remember,
Yeah.
even as a child, thinking like, what in the world are we here for? This has got to be like, we've got to be here for a reason. I can't just be here to work and suffer or whatever,
Yes.
and then die someday and we go
Yeah.
nowhere. We're nowhere. That doesn't make any sense to me as a kid, you know?
or
And
or just or just like even the external progression of, like, you know, career up the ladder, wealth
yeah,
up that ladder, or, you know, there's all these external kind of ladders, but in a way this is kind of an internal sort of spiritual ladder that feels so deeply fulfilling, doesn't it? And I really actually love that you've mentioned that, because I couldn't agree more, and like so resonate with that for me was this thing very much about opening up the world of possibilities. But I really also appreciate that you're bringing in this kind of value of personal power and personal responsibility, and in a way that you're kind of still co-creator, this free will, that you're not like just a kind of a piece of that's being moved by sort of higher forces. You're actually able to use this as a personal development tool, as well as, you know, obviously professional development tool, as a development tool, as a and not just for prediction purposes, but to really also better your life in many ways. So I really love that you're mentioning that. And in terms of, I guess, for you making the transition to, I guess, integrating this tool in your own life, you know, and has it felt like straightforward in this, like, say once you got all the practice and felt comfortable, right? Has
mhm,
it felt like, I'm partly asking this because I'm teaching psychic development at the moment. So I'm kind of really setting the stage around that shift of gears that happens from the external world to suddenly kind of even like trust to go into the internal and shift the gears of focus from all this visual stimuli that's so strong
mhm.
to the kind of more subtle language of the inner realms, you know? I just wonder, what was that transition for you in your life? I guess in getting that confidence to use it in your work. I would love to hear that, because I think we're kind of in similar places in our
Yeah.
journeys.
So, I mean, I would love to say it's been easy, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
It's not, and it hasn't been difficult either. It's
Yeah.
been a different way of understanding the world
Mm.
that took some time and takes some time to get used to. I am one on my personal journey that struggles a lot with trusting the information I'm getting,
Yeah.
trusting how I'm seeing things, trusting new abilities that are coming forward. Um, Judging, am I doing this right, am I up to speed with others, like, so there's comparison, and so it has been an interesting balance of like humanness and
Yeah.
spirituality and stepping into energy and all of that. So for me personally, the biggest struggle really has been trusting what I'm getting and trusting this unfolding that's happening. But it's also been very rewarding in like I said, just knowing that there was the power that I held and the power that I hold. But yeah, I think it hasn't been that easy, but it hasn't been hard. It's just been,
Yeah.
again,
I
something,
understand
learning
that.
to experience things in a different way than I was taught, than a different way than I grew up, you know. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so with new people opening their psychic abilities, just understanding like you're gonna do it different. Every single
Yeah.
person has a unique way of reading energy, of receiving messages. They're similar in the basics, but like I feel energy maybe very different than you do, or see it, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it that's challenging, because if you've grown up knowing like, oh, we grew up going to school, this is the answer, right? You're being
Mm.
tested. So did I get the right answer? Did I get an A on the test? It's not like that in
Yeah.
the psychic world.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do it like everybody else. We're not going to get the same answers all the time,
Mm-hmm.
because we read energy differently and we understand it differently and we interpret it differently. Um,
Definitely. I love that. It is so true, isn't it? That actually it becomes part of your ecosystem and your own, just as you have a way of feeling into things and a way of thinking about things and the way of, like, you have a particular handwriting. It's like a handwriting, isn't it? You have a certain handwriting, and in a way it has its own signature, the way you read as well. And 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 I guess time and practice and everything does make it more part of, like, we get more used to it. But it is so true, and I love that you're sharing this, that we have a humanness, so we don't always necessarily will always trust the information immediately, or sometimes you might get information and you might find that it still requires you to tap into the energy. It still requires you, in a way, it's not even the answer, is it, really, when it comes down to it? Because you still need to live your life with it. With
right,
that
right.
information, you still need to choose it, and you still need to do something with it. And that's an
Yeah.
interesting one. So that's why I really love that you're talking about personal responsibility.
Right, because you can get all that, and that's great. What you're saying, like predict the future, cool. Yeah, we can predict the future. That's great.
But
But
now what?
yeah, but that's not what goes into it. Like, that's great if you want me to predict your future, cool. But I would rather tell you around the energy of your potential and then help you make the choices you desire to
To
make.
align with it.
Yeah, if that's what you want, because I couldn't tell you you're gonna buy your dream house and it's gonna be amazing, but if you don't choose to do what's necessary in order to receive that, it's going to be different. Or if you don't believe you deserve it, then that's not going to happen.
I
Period.
love it, which is why the healing aspect is important, right? And to really work through our obstacles so that we can, I guess, do something that's valuable with that. But I love what you shared. So let's talk a little bit about this thing about, I guess, tapping into that potential, because I work with energy in the same way, and with the sort of psychic readings, it's about really how can we maximize the potential towards where these people are going, or I'm going, or looking to make the most of it, and what needs to come into alignment in order for that to become a possibility, and in order to embody this, and what are some of the obstacles. So tell me a little bit. I'd love to know, in your line of work with your audience, kind of, I guess, what do you experience to be some of the kind of core resistances? And I want to say, like, at the moment in 2022, because obviously things are shifting, energies are shifting, the collective consciousness is changing as well. but I kind of like, yeah, like, and it could be the similarities to last year or whatever before. What do you feel to be currently some of the themes of challenge or difficulty that either yourself or your clients that you feel we're experiencing right now that are sort of coming to the surface a bit more?
Yeah, and I think a lot of what I'm seeing is a resistance to really stepping into your unique identity. And so I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of women that own businesses, but they're feeling misaligned. They're just feeling really like they're missing something within their lives. And a lot of what they're missing is tapping into their innate uniqueness and letting that piece of them kind of shine.
Yeah.
And and what I maybe a more clear example of that is like, okay, we're running this business and everybody's following the system, using the method, doing the same freaking cookie cutter thing.
Mm.
And that kind of realm is dying. What's kind of moving in is, who are you? What is your message? What is your, like you said, your unique signature? And then how can you express that in order to attract the clients you're meant to attract? It's not going to be in having the most amazing website or
No.
ClickFunnels system or whatever, but there is this transition. So I think that like what something people are struggling with is this identity of like, who am I? What makes me unique? And it's a lot of times in the like weirdness of what we hide. Like, oh, I don't want people to know that about me, or
Yeah.
oh God,
Absolutely.
it's like a vulnerability. And I feel like a lot of people are really stepping into, and I even myself, a deeper ownership of who we are. And letting each of these this multifacetedness of who we are kind of
Yeah.
shine through and allow that to lead what we're creating for ourselves. But it is a lot of just like doubt and fear of judgment and worry that we won't be accepted, kind of is what I'm noticing from people. But they're feeling so unfulfilled because
Mm.
they're not accepting who they are. They're not
Yeah.
accepting these unique pieces of themselves that are just like dying to be shared. And so you're
Yeah.
feeling, oh gosh,
So
like,
resonate with that.
you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a lot of what people are doing, but it's like so exciting to see people owning who they are and then
Yeah.
being wildly successful because of it, you know.
You know what? I love that you've shared that, because one of the things I run this kind of like program, 6-month kind of mentorship called Energetic Money Mastery.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we do as part of that, we start with a mantra, because it's a mantra I used when I was kind of like not quite sure what to call myself.
Uh-huh.
And the mantra that I started using was, I just get paid to be myself. So
Oh.
I didn't have to even explain to myself what being myself meant, but I
Mhm.
was just allowing the energy of who I am become the you know, like just attract the right people.
Mhm.
And when that started happening, so I just kind of decided to use that mantra quite a lot in the program as well, for the women, especially when kind of at the very beginning stages, who are trying to work out who they are, what they do in their business, and what to call themselves. And I didn't want that to become a barrier, but it feels such a fundamental thing, actually. And kind of yeah, the fear being really, in essence, kind of just fear of stepping into embodying that energy of who we are, because we kind of know it, but we
Mhm.
kind of want to hide it a bit, even from ourselves sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, and I think it is just around that fear of not being accepted. Or I
Yeah,
mean,
I
you
agree.
think about all your life you're told to stand in line, follow this direction, do this thing, follow the leader, kind of a thing. And now we're really being asked to like kind of get out of line, kind of show what's
Yeah,
different about you. It's time to be a little bit different.
it's
So
kind
it's
of like quite a radical shift in a way. It feels like kind of yeah, like it's a big deal, isn't it? Like to break those rules, to be something different, I guess.
yeah.
And maybe we underestimated how big that would be for us and everyone, and maybe that people really need support in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's almost like it's interesting because it's almost like people need permission to
Yeah.
you can be yourself now. You can show those pieces of yourself that are a little wacky or a little off or a little, whatever term you're putting on it. It's okay now. And not only is it okay, but figure out how to own that and use it for your benefit, because
Mm,
I really feel like every aspect of your life is given to you for a purpose,
yeah,
whether it feels good or bad or whatever the term is. It's useful in some way. So figure out how you get to use it,
yeah.
rather than making yourself wrong for it, making
Hmm.
yourself wrong for being the one that can't pay attention in class, or the one that is
Yeah,
really exuberant or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, it's almost like our unique gifts and our unique work is kind of born out of those things that in a way can come across, or we've been told that they're not necessarily, there won't be a great contribution, or they've been shut down because they didn't fit in. And but there's
Mhm.
something very unique about that particular signature that needs to be told in that particular way, because a lot of other women or men in those signatures will relate to that.
Right, right. And I do think that every unique aspect that you feel like you have, or every aspect that you might feel like is a little out there, resonates with someone else. It
Yeah,
does, because this helps you to attract who you're meant to work with, or how you're
yeah,
meant to make an impact.
yeah.
I think that those pieces are really important. It's just having the courage to kind of let them.
Yeah. And I guess that's where the accountability of coaching, especially a psychic coach, because you can really, I know, and I know how well you do it, tapping into people's particular energies and stories and life really can help facilitate to really gain more of that insight and really kind of support people with kind of teasing those elements out, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, and I think as you're talking about that, I think like doing the work that we do and being able to see people in the way that we see them, I think gives people that first, sometimes can give people that first experience with, wow, I'm totally seen and accepted. And I'm not, because for us, I know that integrity is a very big part of what we do, and showing up in integrity. And that also means in a realm of non-judgment. You are who you are,
Yeah.
and I'm here to help you understand that. That's it. I don't have a judgment around your life, around what you've done, around how you've done it. So it's kind of like that first initial door opening for someone to be like, I can see, it's very vulnerable. I can see all of you, or as much as you're willing to let me see right now. I can see all of that, and I accept it. And then I'm going to show you how to use that. And I think that in the work that we get to do, we
Hmm.
get to help, we get to hold that space that's, it feels like honorable, like thank you for trusting me to be the one to see that piece of you,
Hmm.
and then help you to figure out how to use it, how to benefit your life with it, kind of a thing.
You used a really key word there, which I think is really important, that highlights something that we've missed out on, a lot of us women, our generation, I don't know, when we were younger. And you mentioned the word witnessed, being
Yes.
witnessed. And I don't know about you, but I did write about that actually recently, how for so many women, we've missed out on being witnessed by our primary caregivers, families, or whatever. People have been busy, they've been so like involved in other things, and we haven't always had the proper space to be witnessed. So it's understandable that that's going to be an integral part of that process as we become more visible and as we step into that power of who we are, that we
Mhm.
will need people to be witnessed. And in a way, to not underestimate the value of that. It's not just about the tools that we can teach or that people learn. It's about that real sacred space being held to be witnessed in
Mhm.
that unfolding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one question I wanted to ask was around the energies of 2022.
Mhm.
What are you picking up from this year, about this year? What do you feel that it's teasing out of us, that it's inviting us into? What kind of, for you at least, what do you feel that you're sensing, either for you personally or for the collective, to be kind of bringing out of us or inviting into our lives?
Yeah, I'm excited about the energy of 2022.
Hmm.
It feels big, it feels expansive, it
Yeah,
feels exciting,
yeah,
but also maybe to the collective, it feels scary, it feels uncertain. And I think that
mm,
I can feel both sides of that. Um,
yeah,
because with what's happening in the world and what's continuing to happen in the world over the year, it can feel like you're losing control. It can feel confusing. It can feel very uncertain. But the opposite side of that is the energy is asking you to go within, understand who you are, focus on your hopeful, positive thoughts of what you're creating for your life, and focusing your attention there. When you do that, the outside world isn't going to maybe be as scary or
yeah,
as fear filled or worrisome. I mean, yes, there are things going on in the world that are horrible and hard and heavy, but if we can focus our energy on like what can I do to improve my life and make my life better, it's not selfish. You're raising
yeah,
your energy vibration, which in turn affects the entire world. So I think a
yeah.
lot of people get confused on that. Well, that's selfish. I should be helping the world. I should be doing this. I should be doing
So,
that.
so
Well,
much. Yeah.
yeah, that's great, but you can also do that by focusing within and figuring out, what am I creating? How am I going to live my best life no matter what's going on in the outside world? Because that will in turn impact the rest of the world
Mm.
positively because your energy's better. So, but I'm excited about 2022. I think it's going to be freaking amazing. There are going to be things that are falling away that need to fall away. But if we can stay in that, like, this is so exciting, it means that
Yeah.
something new is coming. I think it's going to be very powerful.
I couldn't agree more. And I really love, though, that you're mentioning about the polarity, because I think it's important. And sometimes it's like, I think people can feel a bit of a pressure to feel in a particular way because that energy can feel so high vibrational. But actually, high vibration can also touch all those buttons. So really shed light as to what needs shifting and changing, right? So I really like that you address that, and that in a way, people to feel that, well, it's okay. It's only pointing towards more growth and shift and healing in a way, and that there's an opportunity to be more. I really also agree with that. Anchoring our energy signature, really living out, kind of bringing the passion, grounding it, and making that journey personal, kind of really
Yeah.
affects the consciousness, doesn't it? It really feeds into that energy of what more is being created for 2022
Right.
as well.
And I think it gives people, if somebody were to listen to this and feel like they're getting caught up in the energy of what's happening within the world, it gives them something. I can do that. I can focus
Mm,
on me for a minute. I can do that, and I can see, what do I need? How do I want to show up? What can bring me joy right now in this instant? That's something everyone can do. So you don't have
yeah.
to be a psychic. You don't have to have a psychic. You can just say, okay, cool. This feels really heavy on this outside world. I'm going to come within. What can I do for me right now to shift my energy? And in knowing
Mm,
nothing else, all I know is if I shift my energy, it will positively affect those around me. That's what I can do right now. So I think
mm.
it adds a little bit of hope to those who are so affected by what's going on in the world, um,
Yeah.
and then just the understanding that things are going
Yes.
to change in the way that they're changing for us to receive the life that we all truly want and the world that we truly want.
And it comes back to this thing that you talked about. We started the conversation and kind of getting to closing the conversation with this message of personal power in a way that
Mhm.
to
Right.
use that personal power to really kind of, it does become a journey of sovereignty. And sovereignty does not mean disconnecting from the collective, but it means it's like really tending to your energy and to your wishes and desires and the personal path, so much so that actually then connecting from that place with community feels a lot more empowered, and you're not pulled away by external energies. You're in a way informing them and so helping direct them as well. I really like that. And I want to ask you before we go a couple of things, a couple of questions. One of them is around your work and how women can connect with you. You talked that you work with women who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, so women who are stepping into their own businesses and I guess need that support. Do you want to say more about it and how they can connect with you as well?
Yeah. So what I really love doing is, like I said, helping women to understand the deeper, like multifaceted the knowledge that's within their souls, the information that their soul holds, and how their soul is trying to guide them through this life, and how there's such a deep knowledge within there, and within your soul is this deeper identity and understanding of who you are, of why you're here, of what you're meant to be doing, of how you're meant to show up, and not only within this lifetime but lifetimes previously. So
Yeah,
my main signature offer is a soul mastery kind of program where we go
beautiful.
in and we connect with these past aspects of your souls. And it's not like past life healing where we bring up old traumas and things. Instead, it's we connect with these past lives that are really wanting to show up within this life and say, this in this life is what we've mastered. These really great energetic values of love, of abundance, of whatever it is. And I want to show you how to use that again now in this lifetime. So you get to connect with these
Oh,
aspects and then say, okay, great, I understand that now, and now how can I use this moving forward? So you're bringing in these past lives and making in this like more complete understanding of who you are, how you're meant to move forward. And within like working with entrepreneurs, of course that's going to be part of it, but it's not like I'm not going to come in and say this is how you're going to build your business. That's not what I do. It's like, who are you?
yeah,
Understand who you are
yeah,
and why you are so important, what your unique gift and style is, through understanding your soul and the journey your soul's been on up to this point, and how to use that moving forward to expand your soul
beautiful.
more. And of course that will affect your business, because the more authentic you are within yourself, the more successful your business is going to be.
In a way, it's that inside work, isn't it? To really bring the value to your business as opposed to creating your business from your head. You know, it's like you bringing the value of your soul, your energy, your gifts in a fuller way. It's really what really this needs to be about. Do you offer this in a group container, or is
So
it
that's a one-on-one thing,
great?
because your unique
Of
journey,
course, of
and we
course.
go in and we meet the souls, we understand each and every one. And what there's like code activations that happen and DNA upgrades, which are really cool. But it preps you to remember who you were, and remember, I call them soul mastery codes.
Nice.
Remember this energy, remember who you were. It's a
Mm.
remembrance, the journey of remembrance, and then being able to use that and be like, oh man, okay, it's like going to school. Oh, I remember how to use multiplication now. I forgot that for a little bit, but I know now, and I'm really, really good at it. And then how am I going to use that moving forward, kind of a thing.
Beautiful. That sounds
Um,
great. And do you have a group, or how could women I mean, I've got your social media handles on the description box of this video in YouTube. Anyone can connect with those, your Instagram, and is it Facebook group that you have
I
this?
do have a Facebook group. I'm not in there much. I've been doing most stuff on just my personal page on Facebook. That's
Right.
just a great way to connect with me,
Yeah.
or through Instagram on Messenger. I do have my website. But yeah,
Great.
the really easiest way to reach out and get to me is through social media. That's
I love
the
Facebook
fastest
as well,
way.
like that, my personal for in that reason,
Yeah.
in that way as well. So no, that's great. That's really lovely. And it sounds really, really powerful work. I work with the soul as well. And I think that it's such just the carrying lifetimes of codes and information and value and energy is such a powerful way to upgrade and to connect with your deeper value. So absolutely, it's really wonderful. Before we go, I just want to ask you one last question about if you want to share one habit or particular thing that you love doing that you feel brings value to your day, to your week. It doesn't have to be a daily or weekly thing, but something that you know for you right now, it's something you love doing that, yeah, that adds value to your life.
So there's a couple things. First thing is like a very human thing, hot showers. I love hot showers to reconnect, to ground, gives me a little space of quiet. I have 4 kids. I have got a lot going on. Um, so that is very connecting. And if
Yeah.
I will ground my energy in the shower. I'll connect to my heart space in the shower. I will talk to my guides in the shower. But just like having that hot water and that connection is very like connecting for me. So that's something I love doing. If I'm ever in a bad mood, take a hot shower, it fixes it. But energetically, just connecting with myself every day, it has been something that's been very important and very impactful, and definitely I notice my life, how it starts to unravel when I don't.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just clearing my energy a little bit, and setting an intention for the day. And I think that that's something anyone can do. And so those are
Beautiful.
some things that I think are a great part of my day that are really important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for reminding us that I guess it can really be simple. Like even just the hot shower that you do to cleanse your energy body can be so important, and to kind of rejuvenate as well. And
Yeah.
the energy tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for being in this space and being in conversation with me. It's been really lovely to have a chat with you, and knowing that we've been on this journey over the last few years as well, and see kind of our growth and where we're at now as well. It feels really lovely.
It's been great to reconnect with you. It's been a while, and this is just so
Yeah,
fun coming back together like this. It was awesome.
I agree. Lovely. Thank you so much. And as I said, everyone, just Olivia's social media is just in the description box. Feel free to connect with her. She's a great channel, and you'll be able to see more about what she shares in social media as well. And yeah, thank you for being in this conversation, and I will see you all soon. Take care.